Hi there, and welcome to Simple Start Homeschooling. In this ninth lesson, Kathy and I will be discussing an important topic, one that may have been overwhelming you as we talk about the 1,600 extra hours you're going to have with your kids each school year. With all of this newfound time together, how do we make homeschooling fun and also keep from driving each other crazy when we're together almost all of the time?
This was a hot topic for me when I first began homeschooling. You see, it was forever in my heart to be a stay-at-home mom of 4 children, actually 4. What a blessing. And simply be there for them. Having warm cookies waiting for them when they get off their school bus, listening to them tell stories about their school day, and just be lovingly present, giving lots of hugs and kisses. It's interesting that when we grow up, there are things we'd like to repeat from our childhood in our own families, and also things we want to do entirely different. For me, I grew up in a family with minimal funds. It was a day when most moms were home with their kids, but that wasn't the case for me. My mom had to work days, and my dad had to work nights so that they didn't have to also hire babysitters in between. But as a result, when I came home from school, my mom would be at work and my dad would be sleeping. I would need to be quiet when I came in, and I would wait for my friends to finish their afternoon snacks with their moms, where they would tell them about their school days, and then they could come over to play with me. That feeling of loneliness as I waited for them to be available solidified my own personal desire to be home after school for my kids. I knew my mom and dad were doing the best that they could, but I just wanted to be home for my kids. When we began homeschooling, it meant that we would be taking our 2nd, 4th, and 6th graders out of the school system. We personally did not want to send them to our local public school, but we no longer could afford to send them to a private school. So there we were, choosing to homeschool. And I just kept wondering, how in the world would I still wear the fun-loving mom hat and also wear the serious teacher hat who had a million requirements for each of our kids every day? That was actually a real concern of mine. So I did everything I could think of to bring the fun into school.
I had full confidence that my mom would create a fun homeschool atmosphere, and she did. She exceeded my expectations. So here are a couple of examples of what my mom did to make things fun. First of all, we had themed days, like they do at regular schools, at your public and private schools. We had dress in your favorite sports clothes, pajama day, dress like a sibling day, dress like your dream job, wacky hair day, and so on. We did field trips of some form at least every other week. My mom even let us have input on some of these field trips. In June, we'd begin to plan for the next school year, and she would check on all the options in our metro area for the arts in the next year. She would tell us about each play or concert and gauge our excitement level. Some things, like going to the Minnesota History Museum, were a given. We needed to learn about our state. But some theatrical shows were geared toward younger kids, and the older kids might not want to attend those shows. She worked with us where we're at, with our present interests, along with what she felt we needed to learn. It wasn't uncommon for homeschool moms to switch kids for an activity. For example, my mom might take the younger 2 in our family to a Dr. Seuss production, along with a friend's 1 or 2 younger kids. And then that friend would take the older 2 in our family with her older kids to a different age-appropriate field trip for the older kids at the same time. Our mom and other homeschool moms joined together to create events that all of our kids could do together. We had school picture day. Unlike the school system's picture taken in the hallway or the gym, we went out to beautiful parks. We did photo shoots. I felt like I had senior pictures every year. We then had the prints made to send to grandparents, aunts and uncles, and even small pictures to exchange with our friends. We did science experiments. I list those as fun because we'd all participate, and it was really interesting to do them together. One year, my mom decided she'd like to expose us to various famous composers' music during our school day. So she'd play each one to expose us to their music styles. And since it was instrumental, we heard it in the background, but it didn't disrupt our studies. We began picking up on the unique patterns of Bach, Beethoven, Mozart. We also participated in sports. Every state has its own laws, but in Minnesota, a child has a legal right to play on their school district's public school sports team if that's something they desire to do. This means that if your family lives and breathes sports, or even if your kid is just interested in them, homeschooling does not have to stand in the way of that.
Here's a sweet story. In grade school, Our son played baseball with his good friend who was also homeschooled. As the years went by, they just ended up going separate directions, only to find in their 30s, they were both married and had kids, and they ended up living in the same neighborhood. Last year, these two friends started coaching baseball together for their kindergarten boys. How cool is that?
Another neat thing we did each year was create an elaborate yearbook.
I never wanted our kids to feel like they were missing out on what their peers were enjoying in the school system. Our yearbook was actually a major win, and this is how we did it. Beginning June 1 each year, I took out 12 manila folders and I wrote the name of the month on each one. Every time we went to an event, created some art, made some special memories, received special cards or took photos, we placed it in the folder month that it happened in. It also listed each of the kids' school subjects that year that they had been studying. When we came to mid-May, the kids all worked with me and we took out all those folders of memories and began creating a scrapbook memory page for that month. Or we would do multiple pages. We placed the whole stack of pages in order and took it. It was huge. Like this. We took it to Office Max and had them copy that stack of sheets and bind it with a soft vinyl front cover on the front and the back. It was 8.5 by 11, and that's how it turned out, just like this, a little yearbook that had something like 125 pages in it, but it was amazing. I'd have one of the kids write our school name and the year on the front of the book with a permanent marker. And today, really, these 14 books are priceless memory books. Life is so full. Without them, we would have forgotten the treasure of memories and the learning that actually happened.
If physical scrapbooking isn't your style, there are tons of online options where you can use the photos to make an album from your year. I personally use Shutterfly for my annual family photo books. Even without homeschooling, I found that the many, many, many pictures I take on my phone end up staying there, and I wanted to change that. I even take pictures of ticket stubs, brochures, or signs that explain where the photos were taken and use them in my photo book. You've got choices.
So that's our 2 cents about making homeschooling fun. But what about when you or your kids are feeling burned out? When you need to take a break, or they do? You love your family. And we've clearly established that no one loves your family like you do. They love each other, and they really do love you. Yet we still need some space at one point or another.
This is where we recommend that on a day-to-day basis, you build some structured space into your family's day where you can each get a little bit of a break from each other. For example, as Kathy mentioned in an earlier lesson, we started our school day later so that we had plenty of sleep and she had 2 hours to start her day with prayer and a little bit of quiet. Maybe you need your break in the afternoon. So after lunch, everyone takes an hour of quiet in their rooms, playing with toys, reading, journaling, whatever is an age-appropriate activity for your kids. And because we each knew our daily assignments, we could complete them anywhere in the home that worked best for us. Sometimes that was on the deck in the fall or spring, in our bedrooms, at the kitchen table, or laying on the floor in the living room. It was good to spread out so that we could have a little quiet, concentrate, and not be right on top of each other.
I want to mention again the other activities that the kids were involved in at church, the community center, the YMCA. These extra activities also gave a break to the always being together idea. It made homeschooling more interesting for everyone and kept us from being together just a little too much.
This may be getting repetitive, but we want to really make this truth stick. You're in charge, and you get to dream big. There are so many new options for learning and enjoyment ahead for both you and your family. Yes, it's work, but the blessings will far outweigh your efforts. And don't forget to check out the resources that we have listed with this lesson.
See you next time in Lesson 10, where we talk about what to do if this isn't working or if your child needs some extra help. See you then.